In today's psychological courtroom breakdown, we're stepping into the story of a woman who believed her children were zombies, and when the jury delivered her sentence, she smiled. This isn't a horror film. This is the courtroom breakdown of Lori Vallow Daybell, nicknamed the Doomsday Mom, a trial that left the world stunned and a jury disturbed. You're watching Code Red Investigations, where truth surfaces, lies collapse, and justice never blinks.
July 18th of 2019, just 7 days after this defendant and her co-conspirator Alex Cox shot and killed Charles. This defendant texted her soon-to-be next husband, Chad Daybell, about Charles's life insurance policy. Her words tell us that she was involved in this killing. Her actions and her words of texting Chad Daybell tell us the motives behind this murder: Chad and money. The morning of that 18th of July, Lori Vallow texted Chad and said, quote, "I just got the letter from the insurance company saying that I am not the beneficiary. It's a spear through my heart. Who do you think he changed it to?" Later that day, after she spoke with the life insurance company, she sent Chad another text. Quote, "So I talked to the insurance company. He changed it in March. Probably it was Ned before we got rid of him." Lori Vallow's words 7 days after Charles was shot and killed tells us that we was her and Alex killing Charles. Why? For that money.
Courtroom drama usually brings raw emotion, tears, outrage, desperate pleas, but Lori Vallow Daybell's trial was different. The tension was there, but she remained eerily calm. Even as she faced horrific charges, Lori sat detached, a mother who believed the world was ending and her children were zombies. It wasn't just a trial, it was a window into a disturbing belief system that led to unthinkable choices.
Adam told us that he knew about Lori's beliefs. He knew what she had been saying about Charles's concerns for himself. And he told us that he knew about this plan for an intervention to talk to a stakeholder. That morning of July 11th, when Charles arrived at Lori's house, as she knew he would, he texted Adam and said, "Al is here." Adam texted back, "They are planning something." He knew. And 3 days later on Saturday, when Adam finally learned, when his friend Googled Charles, that he had been shot and killed by Alex, Adam told us he went back and talked to his mother and he confronted her about this. And he told his mother, Lori and Alex conspired to kill Charles. He knew, and he was right.
Her bizarre beliefs were reflected in every moment of the trial, and yet she smiled when the jury read her sentence. A woman who believed her children were part of a grand cosmic prophecy, a woman who'd be convicted of their deaths, smiling as her fate was sealed.
Lori Vallow wanted the $1 million, and she wanted Chad Daybell. And she and Alex used that twisted religious beliefs they had so that they could kill the evil, possessed Charles and be like Nephi. The evidence that has been presented in this trial will prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that this defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
Let's step back and look at the timeline, not just through facts, but through the emotional weight that filled the courtroom. Lori Vallow Daybell's trial wasn't just about proving guilt, it was a deep dive into a disturbed psyche. Her defense claimed self-defense, but the evidence told a different story. The facts didn't align, the logic didn't hold, and the courtroom tension grew with every contradiction.
In the law, under your jury instruction titled Justification for Defense of a Third Party, the last line reads, "If the state fails to carry this burden, you must find the defendant not guilty. Under your jury instruction titled Justification for Self-Defense, the last line reads, if the state fails to carry this burden, you must find the defendant not guilty. In your jury instruction, under presumption of innocence, it states, the law does not require the defendant to prove innocence. Every defendant is presumed by law to be innocent. Under the burden of proof, it explains that the state's burden is this. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is proof that leaves you firmly convinced of the defendant's guilt. If, on the other hand, you think there's a real possibility that he is not guilty, you must give him the benefit of the doubt and find him not guilty. In Arizona, self-defense is defined as not being a crime.
In closing arguments, Lori's defense stressed the state's burden of proof. No clear evidence of conspiracy, no solid link to a premeditated plan. But Lori's own demeanor told another story. She wasn't grieving. She was cold, detached, and disturbingly unaffected. Her lack of shock, her calmness, it all clashed with the gravity of the charges. This wasn't a mother in mourning. It was a woman disconnected from reality, trying to control a narrative in a world she no longer saw as real.
And that 911 was called, that law enforcement was notified. We learned that fire, EMS, and Chandler police arrived at the scene. We learned that my brother, Alex Cox, came out of the house with his hands up as directed by 911 and was questioned by the police in the driveway. We learned that I came up with my daughter Tylee, and we were told to wait by the car until police would speak with us. We learned from Detective Inklin on the stand that we asked for Tylee's medication from the house for her panic attacks, but it was not given to her. We learned that eventually my brother Alex was taken in a police car to the Chandler Police Department uncuffed. We learned in this trial that my daughter Tylee and I were also taken to Chandler Police Department in a police van. We heard from Detective Inklin's testimony that her goal was to make small talk with us. And
the jury will determine what the testimony did or did not show. Go ahead.
That her goal was to make the small talk with us and all the way to the station so she could speak with us separately before we would talk about what actually happened. We learned that all three of us were separated and taken to 3 interview rooms, where we each told police of the events of the day, each from our own perspectives, and answered all questions asked of us. We saw snippets of that interview in the trial here. The state did not show you the entire interview. Most of my police interview is admitted, though, into evidence in this exhibit. It's number 286. And I would encourage you to watch that entire interview when you start your deliberations.
Lori's trial wasn't just about facts. It was her attempt to rewrite a tragedy as anything but a crime. Her lawyer claimed there wasn't enough evidence to convict. No forensics, no clear self-defense. But Lori's cold demeanor said more than words ever could.
Professional, what kind of proficient, professional. Responsible is usually a good
Right,
word.
responsible with that.
And then, do you remember if at any time, so you were trying to get away from him,
Right.
and you heard the shot. Prior to the shot, do you remember at any point hearing your husband or your brother saying anything to either of them?
No.
So my second very ridiculous question is there anything else that I didn't ask about or anything that we didn't cover that you think is important? I always ask that just because I wasn't there, and so we're going through something that happened a super small amount of time.
Yes. Can I
So,
step?
yeah, go for it.
Just thinking. He was just so angry, like super scary.
Did you
You know how
think,
you take your phone away from like a 16-year-old and
Uh-huh.
they freak out? Like their world disintegrates. Like I've taken my phone away from a 16-year-old boy before and he like, he's like wanted to kill himself because
Yeah.
like they kidnapped him. That's how it was. It was like, is something on his phone that he does not want me to see, that he was like freaking out. Like to the point where I thought he would hit me in the back of the head to get the phone.
okay. So you thought, and not, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you thought it was possible that he was going to hurt you.
Absolutely, he was gonna hurt me and Tylee.
Okay,
Not JJ, he would never hurt JJ.
okay.
And he hurt my brother. Like
Yeah.
he was going like ballistic about it. Was bad.
Okay. I'm gonna go talk to her real quick.
Okay.
And then if, obviously, you know, we'll be here for a little bit, hopefully not too much longer. But if you think of anything or there's anything that kind of pops in your head or something else that we didn't cover, obviously. So I'm gonna go talk to her for just a little bit and then I'll kind of come back and check with you. And then we'll kind of go from there. So I know my partner's talking to your brother over in one of the other interview rooms. So we're going to just try to get, you know, as much done as we can and go from there.
Okay.
Okay? And then, is there anybody that you need to call or anything, or you want to wait a little bit?
I don't know what I would say.
And wait a little bit, we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know what I would say.
And if you want to, you can think about it. So we do have victim services that work within the police department. They're right over here. They're not cops, they're civilians. And they do, Jessica, who's out there with the fire department, so they're kind of our crisis response. They come right away. So our victim services that work in the department are kind of more long-term type support systems. So they're just a really good resource because they do a lot of stuff with our families and things like that and can help with support services and questions you might have.
She's been through so much.
So it might be a
I
good
just
idea.
can't stand for her to have to go through all this.
Yeah, it might be a good idea maybe before I take you guys back today that I get one of them to come in and maybe sit and talk with you guys and see. And it's not something there's a bunch of stuff they can, you know, offer, but it's good to have a contact and like a name and a face and a phone number.
That'd be good.
You know, that way maybe a couple days from now, a week from now, or if there's something going on or you think you need help with something, it may not be something that's necessarily up like me and my partner's alley, but it very much may be up theirs. So I'd like for you to meet one of them before we leave. That way, hopefully if there's something that they can help you and your daughter with, they can, or even JJ or whatever else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I
Okay.
hadn't thought about him.
Yeah. So,
I mean, he's used to him not being there, but he wouldn't understand even if you told him,
right,
like, that somebody passed away. He doesn't understand what
that means. Well, I mean, it's hard at 7 to understand that
Anyway,
anyways.
that's true, but with him he just doesn't, which is
Yeah.
probably better because he doesn't comprehend things, but I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah. So let me go find one of them, and then we'll make sure that you guys get to meet with them before you leave, because that might be something very helpful for you guys. And I'm going to go speak with your daughter for just a little bit, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay.
Okay? And if you need anything, let me know, okay? Okay.
In fact, one of the most striking moments of the trial came when the defense presented her police interview from the day of the event. Lori's testimony was clear, but chilling in its composure. There was no panic, no fear, no real emotion as she described the events of that day. Her calmness was stark compared to the horror of the charges she was facing. And as we heard her lawyer explain, if the state fails to carry this burden, you must find the defendant not guilty. But what were we really witnessing? A mother who didn't seem to grasp the gravity of her actions or the terror of the world she had just shattered.
We learned in this trial from Officer Kautheim's testimony that Alex was injured on the back of his head with a bump and, according to his testimony, a 1-inch laceration. We did not see those pictures documenting that injury as well. We learned in this trial that we did not know, the three of us, that our interviews were being recorded. We learned that Alex's phone was taken by police and put into an evidence bag, according to Detective Duncan, and that no digital copy of Alex's phone was taken by the Chandler Police Department, even though this is their normal protocol. We learned that Alex's phone was returned to him that same day with no further inquiries. We learned that after my interview and Tylee's interview that we were introduced to a victim's advocate and that gave us further instructions in another room where Tylee and I were reunited.
The defense tried to cast Lori as a misunderstood woman acting in self-defense, but the prosecution exposed something darker, a belief system rooted in delusion. Lori claimed her children were zombies. This wasn't denial, it was a warped reality she lived in. Her unsettling calm, her eerie smile as the verdict was read, it all revealed a chilling detachment that defined the trial and left a haunting impression on everyone who watched.
A family tragedy. There is nothing that you can say about shooting a man as he lay on the ground that you can try to construe in any way to make that a family tragedy. This case is about the defendant, not Alex Cox. Alex is involved in it because that is her co-conspirator. We are not here to determine his guilt, albeit it is quite obvious. This defendant wants you to just look at one piece, and she wants you to hope that there's only a person who will say, I saw, I heard the conspiracy. But what did you hear in every instruction is that you can look to other evidence to show that. This defendant wants you to forget about her words and pretend that when she told her lover, her soon-to-be husband, we got rid of him, that he changed the life insurance before we got rid of him, that somehow means what? That they killed him. And he changed his life insurance before they killed him. What does that tell you? That tells you motive, and that tells you who did it. This defendant is one of those we, because she's writing it. She wants you to pretend that when she is talking about Charles for months, acquiescing and agreeing to her brother killing him, having people tell her that it's wrong, having people know that they're planning for something, that those words don't mean exactly what they are. We got rid of him. This defendant. The state, of course, has the burden. And that's how it should be. But every one of those justification defenses falls short when you look at the conspiracy itself. When they got rid of him, they did it by planning it. There is no reason that Alex Cox came over to this defendant's house with a loaded gun and waited for Charles to come inside, held there by this defendant using the cell phone. That is conspiracy. That is planning. That is premeditated.
Lori's behavior defied what we expect from a grieving mother. No sorrow, no pain. Convicted of violent, manipulative crimes, her defense claimed fear drove her actions. But the story had holes, missing evidence, a shaky timeline, and no solid proof of self-defense. Meanwhile, the prosecution highlighted her calm, emotionless demeanor and chilling remarks about getting rid of him. Was this fear or cold, calculated intent?
This case. Money. We see that from the text messages and the anger that you see through them when she learns that that's been changed and she's not going to get it. Chad Daybell. We didn't go through those text messages, but you can look at them. They are already very romantically involved by the time that Charles is murdered. And it's clear that Chad knows exactly what's going on because he's asking her about the car, about the insurance. All of those things Chad knows. And then there's that religious belief system. The zombies, the Z's, the possessed evil spirits. And her being like Nephi. All a reason and a way to kill someone. Just like Nephi, a justified killing.
The prosecution zeroed in on Lori's own chilling words to Chad Daybell. "We got rid of him." It wasn't a slip, it was a confession, a peek into a mind warped by a dangerous belief system. When the jury found her guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, Lori smiled. Not from relief, but from something far darker. Her calm, detached courtroom demeanor revealed the truth. She wasn't a grieving mother, but a woman consumed by delusion and control.
We'll talk about credibility later, but it becomes very relevant that even in the smallest of things, this defendant exaggerates, minimizes, and is completely untruthful to various people. We all know that she was not the beneficiary. She didn't. But we also know that Charles Vallow was not accidentally shot. She told the police she was there. She knows that her brother intentionally shot him. Of course, they want to claim it's self-defense. There's no accident about that when you shoot someone twice. Motives for money. What we see again here is Lori Vallow talking to Chad about the motive. Telling Chad about the fact that it was changed. I just got the letter from that insurance company saying I am not the beneficiary. It is a spear through my heart. Who do you think he changed it to? Brandon? Or probably Kay? He left nothing for JJ. What do we know? Again, we see that Chad knows about all of these things. And what does he talk about in that morning as you have those entire messages? In Exhibit 230. It will be interesting if he got changed after he had 2 bullets to the chest. Again, as we talk about the murder, we have later in that day the message that I talked to you about. So it was probably Ned before we got rid of him. We, not I, not my brother Alex, but we did.
What makes Lori Vallow Daybell's case truly chilling isn't just the crime, it's her mindset. She believed she was chosen, part of a divine plan, convinced her actions were justified. How does an ordinary mother come to believe her children were zombies? What kind of break from reality leads to such darkness? Lori's calm, composed presence in court masked a deep delusion, one that turned a mother into a killer. Her trial may be over, but the questions linger. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it wears a smile. What would you do if a loved one believed something this extreme? Was this mental illness or manipulation? Stay locked in. This case, like so many others, is far from over. Stay alert, stay informed, stay safe. Subscribe to Code Red Investigations for more real cases that hit hard.